Luba, can you tell me just a little bit about what it was like living in Russia and why your parents decided to move your family to the United States?
Um, well, I only lived there until I was 8, but from what I remember, my parents and I, there was 7 of us, and we lived in a one-bedroom apartment. We lived, my grandparents actually owned it, so we didn't even own it. So as soon as things got like really bad, my parents had made the choice that it was necessary for us to move.
What do you mean by really bad? What was going on at that time?
I think like economically it just got really bad. When my dad was younger, he was a sailor and he used to like travel all over the place, and that he made a lot of money in that, but he was away for like 3 to 4 months at a time. So I think at the point where my mom had her 5th child, she told my dad, she's like, I can't do this by myself. So he quit his job and came home to my mom, and but because he was a sailor for 15 years, he didn't really know anything else to do. So he got into construction, which like skyrocketed down for a while there. And so as soon as like things just steadily like declined for us.
And whereabouts exactly did you live?
I lived up in the northern region, up where Siberia is, a little town called Novosibirsk.
And why the United States? Why did your family decide to come here?
Well, we had family here. My dad's sister lived out here. She had moved out 2 years ago, and so we came and lived with her.
Okay. Once you came to America, how did life change? Did life change?
Well, I mean, anyone that goes through from one country into another usually experience some sort of culture shock. I mean, it's a really long process to like get in here. First of all, like you have to have a family member here that will sign off the paperwork saying that they will be like fully financially supporting you for as long as you are here, which for most people is like almost impossible to do. But because we had my aunt here, she had to send a request to Russia asking us to like come, and then we waited 3 years going through all kinds of different programs up there until finally like we were accepted in here. And then I don't know, I mean, you come here with nothing, with no job, no language at all. Like for me it was something that was like so exciting, you know, you're like 8 years old and suddenly you're like moving countries and suddenly it's like fantastic. But I think I know it took like a huge toll like on my dad, who was like super stressed out about like finding a job and finding like for a place to live, because we couldn't live with our aunt forever. And I know for like the first year or so, like it was really, really hard for him just adjusting to life in general. Like I picked up the language like in 6 months, but I think my dad to this day like still struggles with it.
And tell me a little bit about coming to America. What was that like? Your first entrance into America, your first impressions. How did that process work?
Well, I guess from mostly what I remember from my trip, there was just a lot of planes, a lot of hotels. I think it took us 3 or 4 days to like actually get down here. I think for me, what I remember most is like things significantly got like newer. So not in the sense that like the airport in Russia seems so much like old-fashioned than us. Like when I flew into DIA, it was like, oh my gosh, like it was like a color change for me almost. Like Russia was like kind of brownish, that's all I remember from it. And then like walking up to DIA, it's like white, and you walked everywhere in Russia, and then you come here and you got those little like subway things that like take you up here. Definitely like in my mindset, things seem to like switch from like bad to good.
Has life for your family been better since you come to America?
Yes. I heard my dad talk about it so many times, like for the first, I think 5 or 6 years that we've lived here, he would always like, I mean, we didn't even own a house up there, and so as soon as we moved out here, we got a house. We not only, like, we didn't own a car in Russia, and we came here, and I think at one point we even owned 5 of them. You know, schooling, and, like, I was able to go to college, like, huge. Like, I wouldn't have been able to do any of this had I stayed there.
So your family's glad they decided to make this transition.
Yes, most definitely.
Good.
I don't think they've ever once regretted it. In fact, my parents have no desire to go back.
What about you? Do you desire to go back?
I'd like to. I mean, I was only 8 when I left, so I would love nothing more than just like to go back down to like my roots and check this place out. But I know my parents are fully like, nope, I'm done with that. Lived through it, done.
And so tell me about a bit about what you're going through now, the process of trying to become an American citizen.
Well, let's see. My green card's about to expire in February. And at that point, I was given a choice. Like, I could either renew my green card or I can become an American citizen. And I think it's kind of more logical just to make it official and become an American citizen. You have to fill out, I think it's 12 pages of applications and asking questions like, have you been out of the country, or are you a communist, or things like that. And then so after you fill out the application, you also send that in with a fee of, I think I paid $675. And then they send you a paper saying, please be here at this time for your fingerprints. And so I went and had my fingerprints taken, so they're going to do like an extensive background search on me. After the background check comes back like clean, so clean record, then they're going to send me another date to schedule an appointment for me to take their history test, and then a written test and an oral test. And then if I pass all 3 of those, then I'll be inaugurated, as they put it, and given my citizenship.
Why did you decide to apply for American citizenship?
I don't know. I think it seemed kind of like the logical thing to do. Like, being a resident doesn't give you much living here, just the right to live here. I mean, I can't vote. If I do anything wrong, well, I'm not saying that I would, but had I done some sort of like felony, I would just get deported. Like, I'm the property of, I guess, Russia, and I'm their problem if I become a problem here. But if I become an American citizen, like, I'm here to stay.
Definitely. What is your impression of the process to become a citizen? Do they make it fairly accessible, or has this been sort of a difficult thing?
Honestly, like, I don't know. For me, history test, fine. Like, I took it when I was in school because I've been here so long. History test, I'm sure I'll have no problem with it. Like, speaking I can do, write I can do. I think the pricing of it is a bit ridiculous, just because I don't think that everyone is going to have $700 to just like pay. Like, I know for my family right now, there's 8 of us, and so 700 times 8 is a lot of money, and so it makes it almost impossible. Like, for someone who doesn't have the money to do this, it just becomes really hard. So had it been just a little bit cheaper, I mean, I can even deal with the tests, even though the test is kind of ridiculous, because I feel like a lot of Americans even don't know their American history.
Definitely. When do you need to have all this done by?
I have to have it done by February.
What happens if you don't?
Well, I become an illegal citizen, or an illegal resident. But if you have it in the process, I read the fine print on the application. It says that if you are in the process of an application, they will grant you some sort of leniency, like saying that, like, oh, she's going through the process and it's just taking a little bit longer. Generally, it takes, they say, about 6 months. And I think I did it about 7 months in advance, so I'm pretty good on that. Is this going to affect your status as a student at all? It would. If I hadn't applied, then yes, I would not be able to be a student at the University of Colorado if I was an illegal resident.
That's no good. What is your impression of those people who come into the United States and they don't follow the process?
Illegal immigration is like literally one of my pet peeves, just because I had done it right, you know, like I waited 3 years in Russia, even though we were not well off at all. Like, we were really poor back there, and it sucked. Yet, like, we still went through all the paperwork, we visited every place that they wanted us to visit, you know, like, we flew in here and we spent, like, literally months going through social security processes and green card and getting all kinds of immunizations and our blood drawn. Like, we did this horrible process, but we did it so we can do it right. And for people that, like, just get to cross over or just come in here and stay and they don't do it, yet they get more benefits than I do now, I find that completely unfair.
So what is your take on all of the new debate over immigration policy? What do you think should be done?
I support it. I mean, no one knows poverty like I do. Like, again, like I said, we did live in a poor environment, and still it wasn't impossible for me to come here. Like, it's possible to do it right. And I really do not support anyone who tries to do it illegally.
Do you feel like an American citizen?
I mean, I do now. It took me a while, but I've been here for 14 years. So I think about 6 years in, that's when I started to get, I guess the term is Americanized.
Now you'd pretty much consider yourself American.
I definitely would consider myself more American than I do Russian, mostly because I think I've started to think in English, and I think once you've made that transition, there's no going back.
And so now you have a typical American family.
I guess you can say that.